No, thank you very much. And I'm going to introduce our next speaker. It is Felipe Perez. And Felipe is going to be talking a little bit about misconfiguration-driven cloud attacks and graph-based exploration. It's going to be amazing. I saw the abstract. He's fantastic. Felipe comes to us from where? Originally, yeah. From Brazil. So international speaker here already. That's fantastic. And also just a special fun fact about him. He's got 4 kids, including twins, and still manages to have enough time to come out and present to us. So thank you very much, Felipe, and I'll let you take it away.
Woo! Can you hear me, guys? Yeah? Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, just when he asked me about where I'm from, so the correct answer is it depends, like technology. Because my family is living right now in Portugal, but I'm based in Dallas, out of Dallas, but I'm Brazilian. It's quite confused. That makes sense. But let's say the Amazon package arrived in Portugal. That's the good answer, okay? That's the point. Okay, so thank you again for the staff for having me here. So it's a pleasure to be here. And this morning, actually, I'm trying to divide this conversation into 2 parts. First part is more bullshit parts, like the theoric part. I don't know if you can say, I can tell, bullshit part, but anyway, is the theoric part. I know that you don't like the theoric part, but it's important. And the second part is more sexy part, is more the technical things, okay? And that's it. Okay, few information about me. And nowadays, I'm head of Identity Threat Labs, a global product advocate. This is just an important name for my family. But anyway, I'm responsible for this lab, Identity Threat Labs. Basically, the thing we do in this company is to investigate new threats, understand how the malware works, and how they are using different techniques. I published one of these articles, one of these investigations about PDF malicious 3 days ago. It was very nice, and I published in my LinkedIn, and after that, I can share my contacts if you would like to scan the QR code. Good luck. But anyway, that's our idea. So I'm involved with the community. I'm director of sponsor of the Red Team Village. Probably you heard about this community. It's one of this community on DEF CON. So, and I'm founder of the Red Team community. This community is involved with Brazilian and Latino people. Basically, our idea is to spread a message about the Red Team. I know this is a blue, track, but I'm involved with the Red Team as well. So, and I'm an AWS builder, a part of this program as well. So just few information about me. Just to clarify, this is the company that I've been working. It's Segura. It's a Brazilian company, by the way, but it's a globally company. The name is Segura, is a Portuguese name, basically. And this company is involved with identity security, as you can see. And basically, my challenge in these companies is to investigate how the attackers are exploring identities, not only in the cloud, but in the on-premise and a hybrid, whatever, just to understand how they are using misconfigurations, as I will show to you, and this morning, and how they are exploring this type of things. Okay? So let's talk about the bullshit part, about the theoric part. Just explain a few things about kind of concepts. One of these is machine identity, because we talk about the cloud, okay? And cloud, when you talk about the cloud, in the past we talk about passwords, right? Users and passwords. So nowadays we have different things to integrate with the applications, like, for example, tokens, secrets, and other type of things. When you talk about the machine identity, basically refer those type of things, okay? So we talk about the individuals, not exactly persons, but you have a human identity, no human identity. So when you talk about the cloud, we talk about how you can integrate those type of things, like a service account, for example. This is another type of machine identity. Why do you need to understand this, Philippe? Because, when you talk about the offensive security or defensive security, we need to understand how many identities you have and how you can protect these identities. One simple question to you guys. So who here work with cloud? Cool. And the second question is, who here work with AWS? Okay, 83%. And who works here with Azure? Azure, right, from Microsoft, if they didn't change the name again. And the third one is who work with Oracle Cloud? OCI? Last question. Alibaba? No? And sometimes, yeah, this why I ask you, because the idea of this conversation is how the attacker is using the misconfiguration. I will share some example in the AWS perspective, but you can apply the same concept for different cloud providers, okay? So basically, just to finish this explanation about the machine identities, is everything related to the when we cannot find anything about the users and passwords, okay? This is basically the machine identity. As you can see, cloud, servers, applications, Kubernetes, and whatever. So how we see the management. So this is the, again, theoretic part, bullshit things, how this is correlated to this machine identity. Basically, when you think about the defensive perspective, we need to look in those type of, let's say, balls, whatever. So secret management, privilege account, cloud entitlements, many things, and identity threat, many things about the identity, okay? Let's talk about how the defensive side should work, like discover things, governance, automation, and secure. Very many things here, it's about the one single common type of subject. In the end of the day, it's about permissions and how allowed to do something in the cloud and not allow you to do something in the cloud, okay? Nice. Let's talk about another concept, high-value target. This is very common for the offensive perspective. Why? Because, so, another question, who here worked with the red team or pen testing? So we are in a good room. So who works here in defensive side? Who here work with nothing? Because, okay, there are people defensive, nothing. Anyway, but when you talk about the high-value targets, actually, it's coming to the military. This is the kind of terminology comes to the military. I don't ask you anybody here who work with the military, because it's this kind of example. It's good to share in the other countries, not in US, because you guys know everything how the military works better than me. So, but basically, when you talk about the high-value targets based on a person, on research that the enemy commanders requires to achieve the mission. Simple like this. Just to summarize, this is not talk about technology, about the war or whatever. However, when you think about technology, we have this kind of same concept. Like, for example, when you talk about the Q chain and cyber Q chain, like, is there a strategy against your enemy? And you talk about the cyber Q chain is about kind of steps you need to perform and to execute something when you try to achieve or when you need to defend something. When you talk about the cloud again, so we need to think each person in the organization can be the high-value target. Think with me, who in the organization can be the high-value target? And usually we think, okay, if this is the person, expose those identities or, credentials or something like this, what is the impact? You need to think about that when you talk about the high-value target in the cloud. So sometimes we think, okay, in the cloud perspective or whatever organization that you work it in the past, so usually think that's the C-level, board member, senior executive, or the important guy in the company. Usually we think this way. However, if you see more, we can see people with elevated privilege. What that means? So basically, let me clarify more things about here. So, who here in this room have a problem with the developers? Come on, guys. Hey, come on. Sometimes. So, that's the key. The problem is not the developer. Wait. It's based on, because some guys need to have the access to the VS Code, right? And the VS Code, VS Code, the application, they require elevated privilege. The problem is the VS Code, not the guy that is using VS Code. However, how I can manage this in the laptop, in the device of the user? I need to give the high permission in this guy. The problem is not the guy. The problem is the fucking VS Code. I can use fucking or no? Yeah. It's not polite, I know, but okay, anyway. But that's the key. So if you think about cloud, so every people that has the elevated privilege, that's the concept here and the challenge when you think about. So in this case, what you are trying to explain to us, Felipe, that every people that work with a sensitive or high-stack project can be a high-value target. That's your explanation. And I am telling you, yes, you have a problem right now. Because you need to manage this high-value target. Because in the past, when you talk about offensive security, when you see, for example, in the past, when you talk about just on-premise environment, just the Active Directory was the high-value target. However, now you have more than just Active Directory. You have a bunch of users, bunch of developers. You need to give the high privilege to these guys. That's the challenge here. So the second concept, attack vector. This is simple, like basically it's the methodology used or the method used by the attacker to compromise the system, organization, or something. Not be confused with the attacker surface. When you think about this room here, we have many windows, doors. Attack surface is basically wall. I know that's not a technical example, but like, if you're not a technical guy, you will understand me. Like the windows and different doors here is different ways that you can go inside of this room. This is attack surface. And basically attack vector is basically the entry point when you go inside in this room. Let's suppose, and when you talk about organization, it's like this. If you work with cloud, probably you have many applications open to the internet. So this is a kind of surface that you have opened. And you need to find what is the vector to go inside. Can be like explore misconfiguration, but you need to have the secrets and key to go inside, or maybe is some vulnerability in the application that can go inside of the organization. Okay? So this is a different type of things. And usually very known attack vector is a malware, malicious software, or even ransomware that cryptograph your environment and request a payment, or phishing. Phishing is a kind of technique, not exactly a vector, but it's a vector sometimes. But you understand me. And the main point in this conversation is the human error. Human error, not developer error. Come on, guys. It's just human. Okay? I know that sometimes it's more easy to see the developer, but anyway, it's like a human error that can create this possibility for the attacker. What kind of a vector, Philippe? Weak credentials. Usually we can see this, poor encryption, misconfigurations, main topic in this talk, that all those type of things allowing the attacker or even the penetration tester or the red teamer go inside to escalate privilege, okay? Another concept, attack path, and this is basically the visualization chain, okay? The graph way that can see how the attack vectors can exploit the environment, okay? I know it's not a map here, but this picture is from OWASP, basically. You have the threat agent in the left side, your left side here, okay? And you see the attack vector, you have the security weakness that you can explore, bypass the security controls, have an impact, and business impact. Just to summarize those type of things to understand every type of concept here, okay? I know that's here, as you can see, is not the graphic, but it's just to see how the attacker can go inside the organization, okay? And the last one concept is a choke point, okay? The choke point basically is the strategic location where multiple attack vectors converge, okay? That's the word that I would like to put in your head, converge. Why? Because for the attacker perspective, when they go inside of the organization, mainly in the cloud, if you work in multi-cloud environments, so basically when the attacker go inside, remember the entry point, the vector, when they go inside, the attacker can have multiple attack paths. But there are common paths called choke point that attacks converge. Got it? So that's the other concept here. This is a simple example that I'm using here, cartography. This is an open source project. I will share more information, but basically here in the orange color, there are over there, as you can see, 5 users. And the other in the green circle over there, you can see this is the group that they are part of. It means that if I disable that policy, that group policy, I will stop the attack here. This is the converge of difference because we have different users, and those users are a part of the others policy group. Okay, so because of that, the converge moment of multiple attacks happen over there. Okay? Okay, this is a bullshit part. So now talk more, this is another bullshit part. Okay, go fast here. Challenge in the cloud, probably you know about 90%, many branches in the cloud. And this is, I don't know if you know that, but this is interesting. In AWS, you have more than 18,000 permissions. You know that? Who know that? Nice, one person. You see, that's important. It's not too bullshit, but it's like important. In Azure, you have more than 20,000 permissions. Did you imagine how many possibilities the attacker has to go inside of the environment? Yeah, it's good to us, actually. When we know this, it means that we have work to do, okay, because of this type of things. And in GCP, you have more than 11,000 possibilities. Because when you talk about the actions, it means that for each person, you can add these actions. And based on these actions, can bring you some information. Okay, other challenge is a large attack surface, many permissions on identity, lack of, this is a big problem here, lack of visibility. This is, because how you can protect your environment if you don't have any visibility? That's it. Increased complexity, and in the last one is loss, of course. Okay, as I said, many developers, DevOps team, database team, cloud team, those guys need to have the high permission. Remember when I talk about the high value target? So those guys can be a high value target. Who has, or each team has privileged access. It depends on the application. Okay, but my financial team and my HR team don't have any, they don't need any privilege. But they use like the SAP program or SAP program, and this fucking program requires the administration access. Again, the problem is the program, it's not the user. C-level, I'm not sure why C-level needs to have access in the cloud, but they need. Who in this room here work with marketing? Oh, Jesus, I need to stop my talk here. Why marketing needs to have the access? Actually, I'm kidding. Because the market team sometimes, organize kind of advertisement, program or something like this. They have a guy or lady inside of this team responsible for running the Lambda, codes in the AWS. They running these Lambda codes very nice. Infrastructure as a code, super technology. But for this service, they need to create a user, and this user needs to have the permissions, and based on this permission, they need to have the keys and secrets, and if the guy don't delete this, it's an open door. And that's the challenge here. Again, it's not a problem of the market, it's about the person responsible for apply the permissions on this guy. Remote workers, insider threats, type of challenge, okay? Cool, let's talk more about this X part. Thank you, God, for that. But anyway, this is just a part of, just to explain, to putting every people on the same page about the AWS, okay? If you work with AWS, good, you know that. But for those here that don't know anything about AWS, and just explain what is AWS AAM, is basically the service responsible for managing everything in the AWS, responsible for centralize the permissions, and they will be responsible for who is authenticated and who is authorized to go inside, okay? Nice. When I need to create some policy in AWS, I need to look in this specific thing, okay? We can see here how I can create these informations. I have a version and I have a statement. Basically, the statement is a bunch of rules that I can put inside of this JSON file. I can do this in UX, in user interface, or I can do this in JSON file, or I can use in a template like the CloudFormations, and they can create a policy for me, okay? Basically, the important thing that I need to know here is the effect here, as you can see, because allow me or deny me to do something, and the other important thing is the action. That is include a bunch of lists of permissions, or the actions that I can do or I cannot do in the cloud, okay? And the resource here is what is the ARN, AWS resource name, okay? Basically, how I can build this. Again, I can use the web application, or I can use the JSON file. And here is one simple and single example how I can create this specifically a policy in the AWS. As you can see here, this is the version 1 of the EIM read-only access. And if you see here, take a look at this. I have the effect here, the effect allow me. If you see here, this is the statement, as I said to you few seconds ago. So, and I have here the action. AAM is the service, and I can list everything based on this asterisk. So I have a question to you guys. This specifically policy is safe or not safe?
Not safe.
Who thinks it's not safe? Who thinks this can be safe? Nice, I like it. One hand. Who thinks nothing? Hey, come on, that's true. Exactly. So I like this answer. I like to answer this question because this is a real, it depends. Why it depends? It depends who received this policy. Because if you are a guy responsible for managing the CSPM's tools, CSPM, it means Cloud Security Posture Management, this type of tools require this permission from the one single user. So you need to have this. It's a more safe permission to integrate this in this kind of environment. Basically, do you integrate this tool you're running, the discovery in your environment, they bring some recommendations to you. Like another tool, Cloud Entitlements, the same way. So require these permissions. We cannot do the integration if you don't have this integration. How you prefer integrate using this permission or prefer integrate using the administrator access? This one. Definitely, this one. However, if you are a guy that work with the, let's suppose, financial team, you have this permission. That's bad. Totally bad. Because you can list all users, you can list all policies, you can list all group. It's totally bad. So because of that, it really depends of what is your position in the organization, what kind of task you need to do, and what kind of activity you need to do. Why it depends? Because inside of these specifically servers here at AAM, there are a bunch of actions. I will explain more one single. But really the good answer is, it depends. But can be totally bad, but sometimes can be necessary, okay? So, think with me, how, for the attacker perspective, how I can go inside the cloud environment. So, for the AWS perspective, there are one way that you can go inside. Basically, you can go here, for example, type AWS AAM connect or configure, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I'm wrong. AWS AAM configure. No. Configure. AWS configure. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Because I'm just thinking about the AAM. Yeah. What this command means, basically. So, if you see that there, I just need to have the AWS access key, ID. Of course, I have one specific thing here. And if I type enter again, I have the secret. This is the second information requirements to connect with the AWS. And if I type enter here, they request me the region. Okay, if you see the default region is just East region, the first one. And how you can check the others type of regions if you don't know the name? Because I can type here, for example, Felipe is not a region of AWS, of course. But how I know others region? I just need to go to the AWS website, and they can bring me how many regions there. And I can just type in for the offensive perspective, the red team perspective, how they can enumerate things. The second one, just click enter. The default output, I can put none, and that's it. I just need 4 informations to go inside. And after that, I can go AWS, IAM, list users. And I can type enter, right? But if I type enter, you see my users. No for you guys. Anyway, so if you see there, so I just need 2 informations, right? Secrets and key. So based on that, I thought, okay, how I can get this? It's simple like this. I just created a simple bullshit Python code. As you can see there are specifically token here that I can copy and paste here, the GitLab or GitHub. I will do basically here a crawler, creating a crawler to execute for discovery or to find new things. What kind of new things? Basically, these simple AWS key and secrets, those 2 information that we need, right? And of course, I put in here to, get some GCP APIs, OCIs, and generic keys. And once I have this, this is the complete code. I will put in my GitHub, by the way. I need to put in after the event. I will put there if you can use it for the education purpose. Okay, guys. And we just can put there. You can put in your API there, your GitLab, GitHub. And after that, you can execute in your test environment, let's say, and you can try to figure more AWS keys, secrets, GCP. And once you have this, you can go to the AWS, you can configure. If you find secrets and key, copy and paste, and based on that, you can start to do something, okay? List users, list group policy, list permissions, because you go inside when you have. And if you go inside, the first command that you do basically is, usually for the offensive perspective, you type AIM list users, okay? And if you see here, this is the error that happened here. Access denied. If you see here, why this answer came to me? Because I don't have permissions to access the list of users in the AWS. This specific information doesn't mean that, you know, I was blocked. Just it means that I was denied to access something, okay? The second comment that I did here was list policy. Why? Because when you talk about the AWS, you have two possibilities. One is standard policy, and the second one is custom policy, right? So basically, when I type this, I'm trying to figure how many standard policy is applied above these specific keys and secrets, and custom policies, okay? And the other one is list group. Basically commands just to figure what is impact against these secrets and these keys, okay? Based on that, I can find many things. Of course, this is a manually process. Because of that, the company paid for the CSPM tools, cloud entitlements tools, and many other security tools, because they would like to have a visibility. Remember, one of the problems or challenges that we have in cloud, we don't have any visibility. So that's one problem. Okay. So now let me explain more about the impact in the cloud. So basically, this is how the AAM works, okay? The identity access management works in the cloud. If you see here, I decide to create one single new policy version, okay? And I create a new custom policy. So if you see here, this is the way that AWS divided this access level. One is list, the second one is read. One is list, another one is read, write. So maybe you think, okay, list is not too dangerous because it's just list information. And read, again, it depends, but just not too dangerous because I cannot create new things. I just can just read and or list. And there are other, it means tagging and permission management. So let me give you an example. What is the impact of one single action? So if you see here inside of the permission management, there are a bunch of actions here, like attack group policy, create policy, delete group policy, and difference here. I am just create one single policy, okay, using this create policy version. And let me explain the impact of this one single action. If you see here, so when I need to configure something, usually the guy press this button here, all permission management actions apply. Mainly, if you go to the AWS, in going this way, for example, okay, I need to enable one permission for the user, and they will start a new EC2. You know, EC2 is an instance responsible for running like a virtual machine, okay, in the cloud. But the services is in the AWS. You need to attach the hard disk here. They call another service, and those type of things works together to running application, okay? So if you don't know about cybersecurity, what do? Usually, you go to the AWS, and when you go to the permissions, they have a specific permission called EC2 boundary permission or whatever, permission, whatever name. What thing is more easy to do? Just to enable this EC2 permissions, and that's it. Why? Because this is recommendations from the AWS. Can be not wrong, because AWS understand that they create this policy for running EC2, right? But the idea of this talk is to share with you the impact of each of one of these checkbox inside of this standard policies, okay? So once I create this, I put in this, I create this new policy here, as you can see, create policy version. This is my, I don't know why I put in this, because it's just a lab demo. Anyway, yeah, I'm stupid, okay? And this is the policy that I created. If you see here, there are one single action create policy version. That's it. No more anyone checkbox enabled. Only create policy version. And once I have this, I go to the Google or whatever, and I ask, okay, how I can create a full access in the cloud? And they suggest me this specifically JSON file. And because I am noob, what I did, I just copy and paste this code, and I put in there. Okay? And I create this and I call hacker exploitation because it's a nice name. Anyway. And after that, I go to AWS or Google again and ask how I can create using a CLI command. Because I don't know. I just need to put AWS AM, create policy version, because the AWS recommend me, and I need to set the policy or A or N that I created, that I call POC attack module, and I need to set here the policy document, the file. And if you see here is the attacker exploitation doc.json. And take a look at this flag here, set as a default. Yeah, I like this because I had this one here, okay? And now I have this one here. So what is the impact here? A lot. I like this the last one, a lot. And not only this, but let me explain more. One single small fucking thing here. So the AWS, you can work on a single account, multiple accounts, or you can work in a second level or high level, call it organization level, right? So if a big company, usually you have an organization level, you have many accounts behind of this organization level, right? So what I did here is to escalate for one single account for the organization level. So you see how the impact of this specifically, it's not a 0 day, okay? As I'm talking about the misconfiguration. And it's happened every day because I go to the AWS and I enable the EC2 standard policy. Or if require me the administrator access, I go to administrator access and I set there. But I need to look in each actions and the impact here. That's the problem. That's my main goal here to you guys. So tomorrow, when you go to your company, if you work with defensive type with cloud, my goal to you is to check. You need to check those type of things. I don't need to, after this talk, so this talk is fucking talk. No, it doesn't work for me. It works if you go tomorrow and you can fix your problem in your company. That's my main goal here, okay? You need to check these things because this is the impact here, real impact. Because not only elevate the privilege in the user level, but it will elevate in the organization level. You know that this is a big problem here, okay? It's not a 0 day, guys. It's just a misconfiguration. And let me do a last question here. So who in this room know about AWS Well Architecture? AWS Well Architecture, please. Okay, 2 or 3 people. So this is basically the guidance from the AWS, not from me, from AWS, that how you can implement the AWS, you know, in a good way, the architecture. And they have inside of this framework a kind of security levels. They can call you for least privilege concept and something and so forth. So if you see here, the most part of this room work with AWS. However, 4 guys know about that. You know how this is, it's not the developer problem. It's my problem. In the end of the day, it's my problem. So how I can, I'm trying, humble, I'm trying to guide in some guys in the security lab, in security field, and they ask me, Philip, how I can improve my career? So let's go to the basis. I don't like to read manually. I don't like to read manual. I don't know if you like, but I don't like. My wife asked me, how many books do you read this year? Oh, don't fucking with this question. I don't have any idea. And my daughter come to me, I read 10 books in the last 2 months. Fuck you. I like to watch TV, talk with my kids, read books, but man, it's necessary. Of course I'm kidding here. Actually, I don't read books. No, I'm kidding. I have actually 7 books here from PAC in my table, and my wife told me, I will pick these books and put in behind of the, you know, in the kitchen, just to help in the whatever. Because you don't read these books. And I said to her, I will read, I promise you. I don't know what kind of year, but I will read. But the key is, we need to read, not the book, but we need to look in those bases, you know, like web architecture is the basis about the AWS. If I need to configure this environment, I need to read the least privilege. I made a similar talk in Austria last year, and one guy in the middle of the room putting their hands up and said, but you don't see the least privilege in your architecture. No, that's the problem. And the guy looked at me, yeah, but I read that's good for you. You are doing a good job, but the main goal here is to share with this impact here. That's the key. And, okay, so now I have all those information just to share with you. So now I can read the list users, I can list policy. But maybe you are thinking, okay, Philippe, I'm just creating one policy. It's not too dangerous because I can list users and I can list kind of policy. What kind of impact can be? If you read the AWS Web Architecture, or if you ask to Google or whatever about how many standard or AWS standard policy have high privilege, they will bring the name of the standard policy. You don't need to know about, you know, deeply. We just need to do the right questions to the AI. Simple like this, because now when I say Google is Gemini or whatever, okay, or ChatGPT, whatever, just make the right questions and they will bring you, okay, this is the standard policy that has high privilege. So after I know that how many policies has high privilege, I just need to type, okay, let me change for this policy for this one. Let me explain better. Okay, this is one, I will explain better the example that I was talking. This is one tool that you can use, for example, to bring the visibility, cartography. If you can take a picture, that's very nice. Here, they will bring this information to you, basically how you can, you know, see about the, for example, AWS principle. They call like a statement here, and here they will bring you, this is the name of the tool, okay, cartography, basically. And you can see how many user has this AAM create policy. Okay, Phil, but you share with us about the create policy version. Of course, there are two different actions here. One is create policy, and the second one is create policy version. But in the end of the command line, if you remember, I put in set as a default. When you think about the hierarchy, set as a default is better because you set as a default. It depends on the command that you set. When you put this as a default, they will put in first place, okay? So this is one way that you can see. And the second one is AWS PX. Let me go to my virtual machine here. It's better to explain you those type of things. So here is AWS PX here, and I'm connected here in my virtual machine, cross your things for the Lords of Demo. Let's see what happened here. From somewhere to whatever. They have here the kind of high value target here, the effective admin. And let me put in here just to explain you. Here, we can see, you need a glass or just me? Oh, okay. Oof. Okay. But like, we have here user, like me here, Felipe, this is one user. This is Bill. I promise you this is Bill. You can see better? Oh, no. Okay, anyway. But you can see Bill, and this is a group user default. So, think with me, okay, when I go inside of the company, when I start to, like a hiring guy, when you hire something, you know, the new hire, for example, they go inside of the company, like the new developer or new cloud guy or whatever. Usually, when you add this user in AWS, you need to set a kind of permission. It's easier to put in like, okay, let me put in the group with no bunch of permissions, just a single permission, just to manage a few things. So I create this lab here and I put in user default group, okay? And the second one here is the permission, the policy permissions. EIM demo. Another here is user support. This is another one here, Anna, the name of my wife, always doing bullshit things. And now just a simple example, just in the lab, not in the real life, come on. And here is another permission group, Thor lab, and the administrator access. If you see here, this is a standard from the AWS, okay? Administrator access. This is very standard. And if you see below, administrator access, another default, because I created based on the default. And if you see here, below again, okay, I know I can fix this. Nice. I have here the CFO, is an important guy because they will pay our salary. And administrator, CEO, business manager, and Thor. Okay. So if you see here, there are a bunch of users behind of this administrator access. And take a look at this. If I click here and I try to see, for example, the right bottom, I can see the inbound actions. So if I click here, I can see how many actions I have in this user here, Thor. This user is a part of the support users, and this is a part of the EIM read-only access, remember, that I showed you in the beginning, and they are part of EIM demo in the Thor lab. So if you see here, for each of those permissions, there are a bunch of actions here. Here is just 6, here 15, and here 47. 47 is just Thor lab, is a custom policy here. Did you get it? Okay. Double click. I like this. And I like this wow. Okay. I try to help you to read. Okay. Okay, guys, let me see here what can we do here. So there are a bunch of actions here. You see the impact for each standard thing here. So basically here, one of these is attach user policy. So let's suppose that this user just have one single action. If this action is attach user policy, what that means? You can give yourself more permissions. But how I know what kind of permission it's set? I just go to Gemini and ask how many standard policies AWS have. And they will bring the names. And based on that, I can attach a new policy. So you can do this test in your company if you want. You just create one user and put in a test, or test is normal, put another name, like lab, or it's another common name, whatever name you want. Just put in the name and create new policy, custom policy, and just add the attach user policy. Based on that, you can try to do this specific attack if you want. You see the impact. If you can escalate privilege, you cannot escalate privilege. So basically, Felipe, you are telling us that I need to check all actions in my environment. Yes, motherfucker. But I don't have a time to do this. I know. I have a twins as well. Yeah, I have a twins. I have 4 kids. I'm crazy. 4 kids registered, by the way. In my, no, I'm kidding. Anyway, but you see I know that's challenge. I know that's difficult, but you need to think in this way. Okay, it's difficult to me. I can do same thing, everything, and you can take the ownership of your job. It will be good for you, for your job, for your career. That's it. Because if you improve your knowledge, you do the best thing in your job, of course your manager, you see that, and you can give the promotion. So basically this is the impact. So okay, this guy is part of the Thor lab. Let me see another guy here. Not to danger guy. Let's see. There are one here, whatever, CO. This is another guy here. Oh, come on. Bunch of actions here as well. Why? Why CO is a part of the super user? Did you see that? So why the CO is a part of this permission group? Did you see? It's not this is reflect not only the lab. You see that's reflection of the real life? maybe your company is safe in other real life, but in my company is, let's say my lab in my company. But anyway, so this is how you can fix, if you think, okay, how I can fix this, Philippe? Because you bring the problem, how you can fix this. So I give you an example here. What I did here, maybe I was hacked. Ah, okay. Sorry. Because sometimes I present something about malware when I do this kind of bullshit thing, so the people, you are infected with the malware. Yeah. But anyway, so you can use here the cartography, basically. What the challenge here is, you need to know more about the Cypher query. If you know about the Neo4j database here, you can do this in open source, you can do this yourself. It's a very nice opportunity to increase your knowledge about how you can see the actions. This is one way that you can fix this. This another one is AWS PX. However, the AWS PX, the challenge here is just this tool specifically just work with AWS. If I go back here to the cartography, you can put in here, for example, cartography. You can see here the page. You can read the documentations, and they work in this way. But the nice thing here with the cartography, basically, is they not only work with the AWS, but you can integrate with different other cloud providers, as you can see here. The AWS, not too good to see, anyway. Let me put in. Can you read here? Better. Okay. You can use it not only for the identity access management, but you can integrate with other connectors, as you can see. Because, guys, the cloud solutions, the security perspective, like Wiz, like you have another bunch of here, very nice, by the way, is based on connectors. It's the same case with you think about the Bloodhound. We have a connector that integrates with your Active Directory and then bring you this information to you in the graph mode. So basically, those type of tools that work with attack path is based on this same idea. Okay, but interesting here is you can integrate with AWS, GCP, Oracle, Okta, and so on and so far. Okay, and again, the AWS PX basically is quite different because we have a limitation in this case, because limitation in quotes, because they work with AWS only, not with others. Cloud providers. That's the challenge for the AWS PX. So again, you have a connector that you need to perform this discovery and inject in your environment. They will bring this information that I show you to you. Okay? And my company and me, in this case, I developed this product that can help you, again, that can help you how you can bring this information. I don't have a time to do the complete demo, but I just share with you some print screen and just to show, this is the way that you can see. Basically, they will bring this information to you, but for me, mainly is the access path view. You don't need to know nothing about the Neo4j or something like this. You can use your private email if you want. You can just go to the web page here, and you can, this Cloud Doc Segura Doc app here is, again, is free, or the product. You can integrate your environment. I connect, let me just log out here. And you then need to go to register here below, and you can use, again, register for free. You don't have any limitations, okay? Just, you can put your private email if you want, and once you have connected, you have the access in the environment. You have, by the way, the sandbox mode, which means that all those data is populated. You don't need to integrate with anything. If you can use with your master degree or college, you can use as well. It's no problem. And they will bring this information graph away, how each user has the access path. They will bring the attack path. This is the feature that I developed, basically. So here is the explanation how, for example, the attack path works. They need to have this specifically. This specific attack is called attach user attack, how you can figure in your environment how many users you have in your environment that can suffer this specific attack, okay? And this is the requirements, this is the impact, basically. And you can see the view about cloud health if you have a multi-cloud environment, okay? And we have our GenAI recommend you some code, how you can create your cloud formation. But this is just for demo, in this case, the AI. Okay, Philippe, but it's nice to have in the production environment. Okay, we need to have basically the community using this tool that we can convince my CTO that we can open for the community basically. But I think we get there, okay? And that's it, guys. I finish here, and I just say thank you for being here with me during this few minutes. And I hope to have something more helpful for you to apply in your job tomorrow. And here my list of my contacts, the blog that I talked to you about the kind of investigation, the Identity Threat Labs, and my contacts at social media if you want to post something and tag me. And I don't recommend to scan the QR code because, you know, it's not safe, but if you, I'm kidding. Okay, I finish here. Thank you so much again.
Bring me up. Thank you. We do have time for a couple of questions. By the way, if we didn't say it before, lunch is actually free. We're paying for you guys' lunch today. So, yes. Awesome. So do we have any questions for Felipe before we break for lunch? We got one back over here. Yep.
Come on, sir. No difficult question, please.
Hold on. I'll give you the mic.
Be kind, please.
This is like an agentless Graph Runner or Azure Cloud SharpHound type?
Good question. It's just a connector. Basically, it's a SaaS solution. You asking me about what kind of product? I share 3. So the cartography, we just need to install the Docker, if you want, in a virtual machine on a Docker environment. Then you have the ingester, because this ingester will be responsible for running the discovery in the cloud. They will receive in your database, you ingest this in the platform. The AWS PX works in the same case. They will ingest inside of this. And for the other tool, for my company developers, a SaaS platform, you just need to have the user. The same case you have for Wiz, for other tools, like just a read-only access. I'm supposed that Wiz is read-only access, okay? But for us, it's just read-only access. If you create a custom policy, it doesn't work. You need to use because we had the kind of problem with some people, create administrator access. Okay, I have this administrator access because there are a bunch of lists of permissions there. But no, we don't want the administrator access, just the reading only, because just all those information that we need. Any other question, guys? That was a good question, an easy question. Thank you, sir.
Yep, quick question. Do the tools take into account AWS guardrails, if you have those in place?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
AWS guardrails, those can help prevent misconfiguration, so I'm wondering if the tools take that into account.
Okay, good question. So if I understand correctly, there are not only AWS, but if you see in the GCP or OCI and others, cloud providers, there are a bunch of tools that can bring you some information about the misconfigurations mainly. And usually they bring this information for example, like the kind of actions that you can, mainly not the AM services, but for example, bucket test tree exposed to the internet. They can bring this information to you, like your bucket test tree is exposed to the internet. Based on this exposed, they can bring you kind of recommendations to you based on a specific framework like NIST, HIPAA, PCI DSS, and others. But usually this kind of service is paid. You need to pay for it. And if your company paid for it, good, let's go. So if they don't pay for it, you need to manage it in the other way. Another way is to buy some tools like Wiz, Orca, or whatever, or you can use in the open source if you have your hands tied.